Loisy, Heredia, Dormshoek. Sarah Milton.
Rose Harvey.
Vicky Dean.
Poonama Kapoor. Noreen Doyle, staff. Leslie Wright.
Pam Frederick.
Patrick Foster.
Lowell Kern.
Kara, I'll send her a list of all the board members. Thank you. Okay, all right, terrific. So with quorum being present, I now call to order the July 29th, 2021 meeting of the Hudson River Park Trust Board of Directors. The directors have received the agenda materials in advance of this meeting and are free to ask questions or comments at any time on the action items submitted for approval today. Please note, however, that questions or comments from the audience will not be entertained at this meeting. I note that the board memos and resolutions that are on today's agenda have been posted on the Trust website in the link entitled Board Meetings, Bylaws, and Other Materials under Board Agendas and Minutes, and thus are available to the public. There are 7 items on the consent agenda for our meeting today: approval of minutes and ratification of the actions taken at the June 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Hudson River Park Trust Board of Directors. Second, ratification of and authorization to contract with EcoRich LLC for the purchase, installation, and service of a large composting vessel. Excuse me. 3, ratification of and authorization to contract with Carrier Communications for park-wide security camera expansion. 4th, authorization to amend the contract with Hunter Roberts Construction Group LLC for park-wide marine construction management services. 5th, authorization to contract, to extend the contract term with McKeon Door East for Pier 62 carousel gate repairs. 6th, authorization to amend the contract with Slate Industries for Pier 40 elevator inspection, maintenance, and repair services. And 7th, authorization to amend the contract with the New York State Industries of the Disabled for park-wide interior janitorial services. Unless anyone has any comments, I will now call for a motion to approve all of the items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is approved. I'm sorry, Christine, do we need to record the votes of the people who are online?
No, we're not,
No.
just you guys,
Okay.
everybody, no one can vote offline.
Okay, all right, sorry. So the first corporation action item before the board is the request for authorization to contract with Verde Electric Corporation for Pier 97 electrical construction.
Thank you.
Ms. Dora.
The transformation of Pier 97 into public open space requires the services of an electrical contractor to install the lighting, power distribution, and other electrical components for build-out of the public pier. In accordance with its procurement guidelines, the trust issued the Pier 97 electrical construction RFP for the period between March 29th and May 14th, 2021. The trust received 4 proposals on the submission deadline. A selection committee comprised of the trust design, construction, and legal staff reviewed the submissions and evaluated each submission according to the selection criteria in the RFP, and then conducted interviews with the top 3 ranked proposers. Based on the proposals, responses to clarifying questions, and interviews, trust staff recommends entering into a contract with Verde Electric Corporation as the highest ranked proposer. Verde has successfully completed electrical construction projects in Central Park and Riverside Park. Funding for this contract will be provided by New York State. The trust therefore requests board authorization to contract with Verde Electric Corporation for Pier 97 electrical construction in an amount of $2,006,095, plus a 10% contingency, for a total board authorized amount of $2,206,705.
Okay, any questions or comments? This is halfway through the packet. We confused you. We confused by jumping to the middle, sorry. So any questions or comments? No? Okay, do I have a motion?
Get that baby wired.
Yeah, baby wire, all right. Yeah, I think that's the formal motion.
As they say in the industry.
Okay. Okay, do I have a formal motion to,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is approved. Okay, so the next item before the board involves 3 resolutions related to the construction of the Chelsea Waterside Park, very exciting, including a request for authorization to contract with Alpine Construction and Landscaping for Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 site and landscape work with E.W. Howell Company LLC for comfort station construction and with Athletic Fields of America for athletic field turf replacement.
Thank you. Staff has provided 3 separate memos and resolutions for the board's consideration related to the Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 project. As the background and context for the 3 proposed contractor selections is the same, I will introduce the 3 memos together. Chelsea Waterside Park was originally designed and built by the New York State Department of Transportation as part of the Route 9A project and opened to the public in 2000. The ball field, dog run, playground, and other components of the park received heavy use, and as a result, the trust has previously undertaken several capital reconstruction projects within this park area. In 2019, following the opening of the popular new Chelsea Waterside Playground, the trust approved a contract with a landscape architect to prepare designs for the Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 project, including an improved and expanded dog run, a permanent picnic area, the replacement and expansion of the existing athletic turf fields, construction of a new comfort station, and improved pathways for pedestrian circulation. The design has been well received by Manhattan Community Board 4 and other stakeholders. The trust recently released 3 RFPs to secure needed construction contractors for this work. An RFP for the Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 general construction was issued for the period between June 1st and July 2nd, 2021, and the trust received 4 submissions in response. The selection committee ranked the proposals pursuant to the selection criteria in the RFP and conducted interviews with the top 3 ranked firms. After receiving best and final offers, trust staff identified Alpine Construction and Landscaping Corp. As the highest ranked proposer and recommends that the trust enter into a contract for the identified scope in the amount of $7,344,826. Second, the trust issued an RFP for the Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 comfort station construction for the period between June 1st and July 1st, 2021, and received 4 proposals on the submission deadline. The trust selection committee reviewed the submissions according to the selection criteria in the RFP and interviewed the top 3 ranked firms. Trust staff has identified E.W. Howell Company LLC to be the highest ranked proposer and recommends entering into a contract for the identified scope in the amount of $2,995,000. Last, an RFP for the Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 athletic turf replacement was issued for the period between June 1st and June 25th, 2021. The trust received 1 proposal on the submission deadline, resulting in a failed RFP. In such circumstance, the trust procurement guidelines allow the trust to proceed with a single source procurement in certain circumstances. Given the specialty nature of the work, the limited number of companies certified by the manufacturer to install the specified products, the completeness of the submission by Athletic Fields of America, Inc., and its price proposal, and the trust's positive previous experiences with this vendor for comparable work at Pier 40, staff recommends proceeding with such a single source procurement as fully discussed in the Director's Board memo. Athletic Fields of America's cost proposal of $422,209 compares favorably with that previously approved following a competitive RFP for comparable work to restore the turf field at Pier 40 in 2020, and is within the cost estimate prepared by the trust for the turf field replacement at Chelsea Waterside Park. Funding for these 3 contracts is available from the funds received from the sale of air rights to Block 675 and from discretionary capital budget funds allocated by City Council Speaker Corey Johnson and Borough President Gail Brewer. The trust therefore requests board approval of the following 3 resolutions. 1, authorization to contract with Alpine Construction and Landscaping Corporation for Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 general construction in the amount of $7,344,826 plus a 10% contingency for a total board authorized amount of up to $8,079,309. 2, Authorization to contract with E.W. Howell Company LLC for Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 Comfort Station construction in the amount of $2,995,000 plus a 10% contingency for a total board authorized amount of up to $3,294,500. And last, authorization to contract with Athletic Fields of America, Inc. for Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 athletic turf replacement in the amount of $422,209 plus a 10% contingency for a total board authorized amount of up to $464,430.
Questions?
How long is it gonna take to replace the turf field, and is there some kind of contingency that they'll give us a discount if they run long? Because for those fields to be offline for any length of time is a problem.
Yeah, we're aware of that. It's part of what we presented in enormous detail to Community Board 4, with respect to the construction staging. I think the same could be said with the dog run there, same kind of concept, taking it offline.
I'm more worried about the parents of the ball players than I am about the dog
Right.
owners.
I don't know. Yeah, I know.
Kevin can remind me, there is no penalty if they exceed the time, but we were similarly concerned about Pier 40 Courtyard Fields last year, and they met the schedule, and we were so disappointed because they exceeded the schedule, and then COVID happened, and we couldn't show off. Kevin, what's the timing?
Yeah, so this whole contract, Chelsea Waterside, all these contracts involved, we're phasing it to keep as many of the amenities as open for as long as possible. And that includes playgrounds, everything. So the synthetic turf field is either going to be done very first or very last, depending on, we need to get these three contractors together and work out these logistics. But the actual carpet replacement is about a 2-month process. So that'll either be done at the very beginning or at the very end, avoiding the high use periods of the field.
Okay, thanks.
Do you mind an inside baseball question? What's the infill? Is it sand or crumb rubber or?
It's crumb rubber.
Okay, we use it too, so you don't have to lower your game. And the comfort station, how big is it for this price? Like how many?
Oh, how many stalls?
Yeah.
There are 2 fixtures each gender.
4 total.
Yeah,
Or 2 fixtures.
they're very, it costs a lot to make comfort stations, indeed.
It always amazes me.
Yeah,
Small,
yeah.
small buildings, there are no efficiencies,
That's right.
basically, that's the problem.
There will be a changing table. Noreen, is there a changing table in the comfort station?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There is no economy of scale in a comfort station project. You're hiring a tile person to do 4 little walls,
Yeah.
and they can't work on different floors while the guy below is doing a different floor. It's just massively inefficient.
It's an area
But it's the
where
only way it can be done.
it's modular. Somebody should come up with modular,
Yeah.
comfort stations.
That are nice.
That are nice,
That are
yeah,
nice,
but-
because
yeah,
they-
that's the issue.
Not portable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a porta potty, but, yeah, so, the waiver of the 6% FDVOD subcontracting, is the notion here that these are just not big enough jobs, that there are a lot of?
Well, I think it's partly that the SDVOD program is so new. So there was a state law created that created the SDVOD program without essentially certified vendors. So OGS has been working very hard and actually very successfully to recruit vendors. But since everybody all over the state has to use the same relatively still limited number of vendors, and there are more in certain sectors than others, it's just simply, they're not equally distributed geographically, et cetera. So, we have had success, actually, all of our construction managers are using SDVOD subs, and that's been, for all of our construction, that's been a very successful way of kind of meeting some of our goals, but in other areas, it's been more challenging.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, can I get a motion to authorize entering into the following 3 contracts? A contract with Alpine Construction and Landscaping Corp. For Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 site and landscape work. A contract with E.W. Howell Company LLC for comfort station construction. And third, a contract with Athletic Fields of America for athletic field turf replacement.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion for the three resolutions is approved. Okay, the next item before the board is the reappointment and ratification of corporate officers. Noreen?
Before I begin this next action item, this is a bittersweet moment for me as well as many others at the trust and no doubt beyond. I'm happy to report that Dan Kurtz is finally going on a true vacation. And none of us here can recall the last time he actually was away and not working. However, this weekend also marks the last day that Dan will serve as the trust CFO and Executive Vice President for Finance and Real Estate, along with all the dozens of other hats that Dan wears. After working as the trust consultant from 2003 until 2010 and serving as our CFO and EVP ever since, Dan has decided not to spend every waking minute at the office and at the park.
What's up with that?
Where are you gonna go? He has been a brilliant tactician and indefatigable advocate for the park, leading business negotiations on everything from air right sales to long and short-term leases and permits to ensure the best financial and operational terms for the park, and doing everything within his power to help put the park on sound financial footing in the future. But Dan cares equally about the park's mission, and he has driven all of us, me included, to set a high bar for the park's continuing operations and care, and he has largely succeeded because that's the way Dan is with everything he touches. He has taught me so much. Among many other things, I will miss the tremendous sense of humor and perspective he brings to us every day, even on the tough days. Dan has promised me that he'll find the time to let us celebrate him properly after he returns from vacation. But in the meantime, on behalf of the whole staff, I'd like to thank him for everything he's done to make the park better and stronger for many years. Sorry. But it's not all sad news, because going back to the board member, action item, I'm very pleased to recommend that the board approve the appointment of Kimberly Quinones as the Trust's Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President for Finance and Real Estate, effective August 2nd, 2021. As the board already knows, Ms. Quinones most recently served as the Director of Global Blockchain Business Council and the Executive Director of the New York City Blockchain Center, a public-private partnership with the New York City Economic Development Corporation. She was formerly the Chief Financial Officer and Vice President for the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation, which, like us, generates its own revenue and operates a public park. Because Roosevelt Island is also a New York State public benefit corporation, Kim is also familiar with public procurement, budgeting, and many of the other requirements to which the trust is subject. Kim has also worked as a public finance banker in New York and Los Angeles, structuring infrastructure and general fund financings for municipal bonds. Ms. Quinones started at the trust a few weeks ago and has worked side by side with Dan to ensure a smooth transition upon Dan's departure. We welcome her to our park team, and I'm looking forward to introducing her to all of you and to the community. So, the trust seeks formal ratification by the Board of Directors, corporate officers as follows: Vicki Bean, Chairperson; Basil Chagos, Vice Chairperson; Noreen Doyle, President and Chief Executive Officer; Kimberly Quinones, Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, and Executive Vice President; Sikander Dewberry, in the room, here he is, Assistant Treasurer; Christine Fazio, General Counsel and Secretary; Nicole Coutinho, Deputy General Counsel and Assistant Secretary. I don't think she's here.
Okay, are there any, questions and comments?
I, of course, just want to also to say thank you to Dan and how much you will be missed. But we welcome Kim and really look forward to working with her. But we just want to say thank you so much for all you've done, for the good humor and graciousness with which you've done it, and for all those years of dedication, which all of us have benefited from. So we hope you will have a great vacation, and then you'll be bored and come back to see us. Right, okay. So, questions, comments?
Thank you so much. So I just want to thank everybody on the board, and especially the current and past staff of Hudson River Park that I've worked with shoulder to shoulder, for these many years, Maureen in particular, my comrade at arms. I've had a long association with the trust going back to, as Maureen said, 2003, when Jimmy Ortenzio and Rob Alexander hired me as the real estate consultant for the first failed HRPG, Pier 40 arc. But actually, unbeknownst to me at the time, my association actually goes to the park, and Pier 40 goes back further. So I will give you fun fact number one. So in 1968, my wife-to-be Kim, who I didn't know, actually sailed from Pier 40 to Southampton. On the Rotterdam, this is the Holland America terminal, and actually had her ticket here, in her, what she calls her pimento package, all the significant things. I can tell you that her passage was $263. I know that Rose knows Kim. When we just do to Rose.
Thank you.
That's a blessing. But I guess, but Pier 40 was in a lot better shape, back then when she first saw it, and of course, I guess you could say the same for me when Kim first saw it. So but that was pretty fabulous. And then I guess fun fact number two, well, I guess it's ironic fact number two, more than fun fact, is when we both moved back to New York City in 1984, and I was hired by the Public Development Corporation, which was the predecessor to the Economic Development Corporation. And my first job was as probably, I think, the last project manager for Westway. And I was on the burial detail for community representatives, don't get alarmed. I was on the burial detail, actually switching Port Authority money that was supposed to go to Westway to what later became Hunters Point in Queens. But so when that project died, of course, what was Westway became Hudson River Park. I didn't know that. But there were actually people at the time who probably did have the vision, that this failed project would become this fabulous park. So, I'm sort of reminded there was a great man who once said that creation is a patient search. And I should say that a government, when given the opportunity, a patient government can create these great projects. And which is really what happened here at Hudson River Park. There have been successive administrations from the state, from the city, changes in community leadership. There have been changes in leadership of Hudson River Park Trust, most notably, I'd say, Madeline and Diana. And, by standing on the shoulders of the people before them, it's really created this fabulous park. And I just want to thank everybody here for being allowed to be part of it. And hopefully I'll keep in touch with everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And patient governments need wonderful people working for them. So thank you for that. Okay, so can I call for a motion to approve the appointment of Kim Quinones as the Trust CFO and Executive Vice President for Finance and Real Estate, and confirmation of the corporate officers that Ms. Doyle identified?
Yes.
Second. And all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Any abstentions?
Vicki, you're not voting against it?
Did I? And the motion is approved. So, all right. Congratulations.
Official.
Congratulations. And thank you. We're delighted. Okay, so that completes the board action items for approval today, and I would like to ask Ms. Doyle for the president's report.
I'm happy to report that construction of the Gansevoort Peninsula, which we're going to put up on screen in a second, is proceeding well and on schedule. Stephen Dubner Landscaping has been working on the north and south edges to prepare the sites for the Salt Marsh and South Beach. Existing riprap and debris has been excavated and stone is being salvaged on site for reuse. The existing surcharge pile will soon be redistributed around the peninsula to create the new site elevations. The Trust recently released a number of additional RFPs for Gansevoort-related construction of the restroom and concession building at Gansevoort. RFPs for electrical, plumbing, and building mechanical contractors are due tomorrow, June 30th, fingers crossed. Staff is currently evaluating responses to the general construction phase 2 and electrical construction phase 2 RFPs and expects to bring recommendations to you for approval at the September board meeting. We remain on track for a late spring 2023 overall project completion. With today's approval of the 3 Chelsea Waterside Park Phase 2 contracts, the Trust expects that construction will commence in September. We are all very excited about the new design and getting the new park features open to the public as soon as possible. Here you, yeah, I just wanted to show the building, which is the next slide, Kira. There you go. Oh. That's basically a portal to the athletic field. At Pier 97, fabrication of mock-ups for the Pier 97 shade structures has started and will be ready for Trust review in early September. Site work will also be underway before the next board meeting. Last week, the Trust released 4 additional RFPs for contractors needed for the Pier 97 maintenance and restroom building, general construction, as well as electrical, plumbing, and building mechanicals. We again plan to bring these to the board for approval at the September meeting. Thus, the September meeting will have a long list of board action items, and Julie will be reaching out to you to plan dates shortly. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the final environmental impact statement and record of decision for the Hudson Tunnel project was released in late May, and the project sponsors have begun to meet with various stakeholders, including the Trust, given the extent of construction within the park. At this time, no one can say when work would begin, as the tunnel has many details, including funding and procurement to first determine. In the meantime, we're negotiating a reimbursement agreement in which the project sponsors would reimburse the cost of the engineering, environmental, and legal consultants the Trust will need to ensure the park's interests are protected during the tunnel's construction and operation, and to prepare the construction permit and long-term lease. We're also pleased to share that the Tribeca Habitat Enhancement Project hit the water earlier this month with the deployment of 80 seeded reef balls between Pier 26 and Pier 32. In August, seeded gabions, more seeded reef balls, and textured concrete piles will also be installed by our contractor, Rycon, with support from subcontractor Billion Oyster Project. Collectively, these enhancements will help to increase the sanctuary's oyster population, diversify river habitat, and create a corridor to support local fish populations. This project will be monitored over the next few years to inform future habitat enhancement design and decision-making. The park is grateful for our scientific partners at New York State DEC and our Sanctuary Management and Technical Advisory Committee for helping shape this important initiative. Are there any questions so far on construction or design?
Okay. What's inside those contracts?
So those, on the left, those are the tanks with the seeded reef balls in them. And so those actually went to the Billion Oyster Project, the barge went to the Billion Oyster Project to pick up the tanks with the seeded reef balls in them, and then deploy the much smaller units that you can see in the middle and far right pictures there.
And how many?
We did, that phase, I think, was 80 reef balls thus far, and we have another 16, I believe, that are part of the Pier 32 pile field project, and then there'll be, I believe it's also 80 gabions, if I'm remembering correctly.
Wow.
And the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is basically, in terms of numbers, so the ultimate goal is to create basically this corridor between Pier 26 and Pier 34. We will have upwards of 10 million oysters in this zone.
Wow.
Crowded.
You
You gotta go for density.
More oyster for everyone.
You can't see it.
So the summer season is fully in swing for the Parks River Project team. Hot off the press is our newly spruced up wet lab, which reopened at Pier 40 for the first time in over 18 months in early July. As the real estate ads say, it's amazing what some new lighting and a new paint job can do. Over the winter and into spring, our facilities team introduced improved lighting, a trailer functioning as a lab where our eDNA and other scientific sampling programs can occur, and other improvements funded primarily by grants we've secured from CDC and Council Speaker Corey Johnson. Of course, the main selling points for the wet lab are the flow-through tanks supporting live animals. Current aquatic residents at the wet lab include oyster toadfish, lined seahorses, diamondback terrapins, and horseshoe crabs. HRPT has a license from New York State DEC to collect and possess live animals in the wet lab. Members of the public are invited to tour the space during wet lab look-ins on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 6 p.m. from now through the end of October, and on Sundays in June and July from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Staff is also hosting a number of students attending summer camps, primarily from Title I communities at the wet lab this summer, both virtually and in person. To help facilitate all the great research and environmental educational programming underway, the River Project has welcomed a team of 6 interns to the team this summer. These college students and recent graduates are focused on learning more about either educational programming or park research in support of their professional growth and goals. Additionally, the Includes High School and College Research Internship Program is also underway. Now in its 4th year, this program, which was funded by a National Science Foundation planning grant, has a 2021 cohort of 2 CUNY City College mentors and 10 high school students from the Intrepid's Goals for Girls program and the Young Women's Leadership School in Harlem. The Includes program serves students from communities underrepresented in STEM by providing stepping stones for learning field and lab science skills and developing leadership and communication skills. We're pleased to announce that this internship program is a finalist for the National Summer Learning Association's Excellence in Summer Learning Award, which recognizes non-traditional learning innovation that is critical to serving the diverse needs of students. We'll let you know if we win. This summer, the River Project team is collaborating with a number of visiting scientists from various universities and environmental institutions to advance research within the park. Dr. Ashok Deshpande from NOAA Fisheries in Sandy Hook is partnering with our team to launch a microplastic study monitoring the adsorption of chemical pollutants to these tiny plastics. This project will advance regional knowledge of the potential harm microplastics pose as they are ingested by wildlife on their way up the food chain. Dr. Allison Fitzgerald from New Jersey City University and her undergraduate student received a Polgar Award from the Hudson River Foundation to study the dynamics of encrusting fouling species on oysters and health implications. River Project staff are also supporting Dr. Matt Hare of Cornell University while he monitors juvenile oyster recruitment on shell bags at 2 park locations as part of a harbor-wide study. Last, I wish to thank many directors for joining the public hearing for the draft estuarine sanctuary management plan that took place on June 29th. The draft ESMP document and full public notice can be found on the homepage of the park's website, and the comment period is still open until Monday, August 9th. Anyone wishing to submit a comment may do so by emailing us at esmpcomments@hrpt.ny.gov. Are there any questions on our River Project activities? Okay. Summer always brings more people to the park, and we are so happy to be again hosting in-person events and activities. Until mid-July, we were following the pop-up approach for some of our larger live music and dance events, but we're happy to say that we've been able to return to offering many of these on a scheduled basis and in person. It's been a joy to walk the park's piers and to see people exercising and to watch people dancing and listening to music. The Public Programs Department has increased the number and variety of free fitness and music events offered this summer, with Jazz at Pier 84 taking place every other week and Sunset on the Hudson popping up throughout the park's 4-mile footprint in July and August. We're hoping COVID allows us to move forward with in-person Sunset Salsa this September and October. In addition to our own programming, the Trust will be increasing its partnership programs with other cultural organizations as another way to diversify our offerings and expand our outreach. The NYC Salt exhibit by student photographers on the heliport fence in Chelsea, as well as After the Storm, a newly commissioned work by composer Yaz Lancaster, arrangements of music by fingerstyle guitarist Yasmin Williams, and Alex Weisler's and All the Days Were Purple, which was a finalist for the 2020 Pulitzer Prize in Music, took place at Pier 64 in July. We look forward to hosting other collaborations in the fall. Events at Hudson River Park can be found on the park's homepage. Little Island, of course, has a full schedule of events, including the just-announced August Festival, where all events are free. People who have attended performances at the amphitheater have raved about the magical setting and how perfect the acoustics are. Throughout the park, we continue to receive an abundance of permit requests for events of all sizes, including at the newly opened Pier 76, and are working to accommodate many of them while also keeping park space open primarily for regular park patron use. Any questions? Okay. And I'd like to thank New York City for inviting HRPT to be part of the city's Essential Workers Parade in July. 3 delegates from our team, Nicole Steele, Lakram Blanlal, and Ilya Lasani, represented the many Hudson River Park employees who reported to the park daily, even during the early days of COVID, to care for our plants, buildings, fountains, and to remove trash and clean the property. We are grateful to all the members of our staff for their commitment and stewardship, and we are so glad they've gotten some much-deserved attention for their work. So I thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
And to complete my report, please note that in your board packet are the PEP statistics, a list of all contracts between $100,000 and $200,000, and the financials for the first 3 months of this fiscal year. Total operating revenues were $7,539,258, and operating expenses, not including capital maintenance and equipment, were $5,933,325, which are on target with budget estimates. Related to the PEP statistics, I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts that PEP, including the officers here every day, as well as Director Eddie Falcone and Captain Adusi of PEP, as well as several members of our staff, including Owen Davies, Dennis McCartney, Chris Downey, Deborah Kuska, Christina Singh, and Edison Young, have made to improving public aspects of our safety systems within the park. The implementation of the PEP stat system allows the trust to track trends and deploy PEP officers to areas of concern. In addition, the operations desk is now proactively watching video and reporting incidents as they happen in real time, resulting in correcting conditions and, in some cases, the arrest of individuals as they are committing a crime. Funding for cameras has come primarily from grants from our elected officials, including Councilmember Margaret Ching, Council Speaker Corey Johnson, and Borough President Dale Brewer. Over the last year, the new technology has enabled PEP to share information with the local precincts, including photos from video footage of wanted individuals for crimes in the park. This has resulted in the arrest of people responsible for some of the reported crimes in the park. PEP has also conducted joint operations to address issues including the restriction of e-bikes and e-scooters, and NYPD has been helping with much appreciated support in this realm as well, though e-bikes and e-scooters remain a major issue on the bikeway. And that's the end of my report.
Any questions? Ask on the PEP report. The medical assistance has almost doubled from 20 to 21.
Yeah, you know, we are still trying to get a handle on numbers, but basically, sometimes calls go to 911 and we don't find out about the calls. So someone may receive help and we may not know about it. So one of the things that Dennis McCartney has been doing has been trying to work with the precincts and fire department and anyone else who may respond to something to try to get information if it happens in the park so that we know about it, even if our own officers aren't the ones assisting. But there are some mysteries like that. It's hard to know sometimes.
Okay. So I will now move to Jeffrey for a report, from the
You're fine. Hi, everybody. Jeffrey LaFranca. I'm Chair of the Hudson River Park Advisory Council, and just a couple of updates for you all. We held our last meeting of the Advisory Council on June 8th. Our key issues on the agenda for that were Little Island, this thing called Little Island. It has just opened, and we were excited to see the reaction, but have a number of safety concerns that we talked through with Little Island. Everybody from the trust was there that needed to speak with that, and so issues are continuing to be addressed. And there are major calls for
additional bike parking, and Little Island is considering, is looking at more ways to address that. And discussions around the 13th Street crosswalk are ongoing with the Little Island, with the trust, and then I happen to run the bid that's also in that area, so sort of looking at it comprehensively, in a whole bunch of ways. The advisory council also wanted to have a discussion with the businesses that are tenants of the park and also are on the advisory council. And that was a really nice moment for us to hear from those who are serving park visitors. We wanted to learn who's back in the park, how business was going. And generally across the board, there was a pleasant uptick. The frying pan is busier. More folks are getting in the water on kayaks. The community boat houses are feeling better about the services they're providing, and people are feeling better about it. This was over a month ago, so, you know, hopefully that trend has continued upward in a safe way. And then there's always concerns about safety. Last year, the advisory council really pushed hard to get the private ferry operators to agree to a 100-yard safety zone off the end of the pier head for two reasons. Protect the bulkheads, which cost the trust a lot of money, and two, the human-powered boating community is significant in this area, in particular, you know, around where the community boat houses are, which there's four in the park. And so the trust put together sort of a community meeting, if you will, that brought together the captains and many of the staff of Hornblower and NYC Ferry, and then a whole bunch of the human-powered boating community. And it was a real good moment, and we're hopeful that the trust will continue to facilitate those conversations, because being in a kayak is very different than being a captain of a ferry. And the more we can help to those, you know, groups to understand each other, the more successful the multi-use of the waterway will be. As we often talk about, the bulk of the park is actually water. And so what are we doing to make sure that's a safe and successful experience as well? Otherwise, the advisory council continues to be excited by all the updates that we continue to see, and I'm always happy to report on huge contracts. And so delighted to hear all the more good news on 97 and Chelsea Waterside and all that stuff. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. And Connie Fishman is away this week, so we don't have a report this time from the Hudson River Park Friends. So is there any further business? Anything? Then I will request that the directors move into executive session to discuss some pending litigation and real estate matters, and that we adjourn the public portion of the meeting. So may I please have a motion to move into executive session and adjourn the public portion of the meeting? So moved. Seconded? And, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion is approved. So the trust will stop the live webcast, and the directors will meet in